type of communicator are you, and why should you even care? Hi, I'm Maria Keiser, co-founder of the Entrepreneur Circle and co-creator of the Human Performance Academy. Today, I'm going to talk about the 4 different communication styles, how peak performers communicate, and how you can start to communicate like a peak performer. Let's get started. Let's get started at the beginning and meet the cast of characters of communication. We have the aggressive. This person comes in, they're always riled up, they got their arms flailing, they're making demands, pounding on the desk, and leaving you just not able to even fit a word in edgewise. Then they whirl out the way they came in, and the only thing you can think of is, oh, I'm so relieved that they're gone. You don't even know what they said. You hardly even care about what they said. Your main goal in interacting with this person is, I don't want to be around them. And we have the passive. The passive is very amenable. I don't care. You choose what movie we go to. I don't know. You pick what kind of food. I can't decide right now. And when they're in a situation where they are the leader, they can barely ask you to do a task because they're so concerned with disrupting your day or making you feel inconvenienced. And we have the passive aggressive. The passive aggressive, you've met this person. They're the type of person that everything is always happening to them. They're blaming, they're always complaining, they're never doing anything about it. They're just always talking to the wrong person about what's not working for them. The wrong person meaning you the individual that can't help them in any way. You can't change the situation for them. Then there's the assertive. The assertive individual comes into a communication, they're direct. They're talking, they're conversing, they're listening to the other side, they're making compromises, and they're leaving the conversation with all parties understanding exactly what needs to happen next. And yes, that is the style that the peak performer speaks in most of the time. Now you're listening to these 4 styles and you're saying, I use all 4. I can't say which communication style I am. That might be true because in reality, we have opportunity to use all 4 styles. However, if you're truly looking at yourself and you're being truthful with yourself, you can probably identify with one style the most. Distinction. A lot of people feel as though assertive and aggressive are the same thing, and they get very concerned when I say speak assertive. Here's the major distinction between aggressive and assertive. The aggressive individual is direct. They are coming in and they're stating their needs. However, they're doing it in a way that takes power away from another individual. They're not stopping to listen to what the other person has to say, and they're not allowing that person to contribute in any way. The assertive person comes in, they state their need, and they stop, and they listen, and they allow that other person to communicate back with them where they can end the conversation in a healthy, more positive way. So you're thinking about, well, I have this communication style, and it works for me. And I'm sure it does. You started using it for some reason, right? But here's where this style may not work for you. Here are some of the defects of the passive, the aggressive, and the passive-aggressive communication style. First of all, people who engage in that type of communication are typically coming into a conversation and they've already made up a story about it. You know, you've experienced it. I know that I have. Oh, I can't say this. Oh, I can't ask them this. Oh, I can't do this. Why? Because we've already assumed that this other person is a certain way. And one thing I will always ask myself before I go into a conversation or when I feel myself making up that story is, what are the facts? What do you know? Do you know that this person really doesn't want to do this job? Do you know that this person doesn't really like doing this? We don't know any of that until we ask the right questions. That's where assertive comes in and helps. Second, we live in a polite society. We're not supposed to talk about what we want and what we need. Other people are just supposed to guess. How often are you in a conversation and you feel like, I asked this question, they should just know what I meant by that? Or how often have you been told, gee, if you really cared about me or if you really knew me, you would already know what I mean? Well, we can't know what you mean until you tell us what you mean. So what does that lead to? In polite society, when we're trying to guess what that other person needs, we are guessing wrong a lot of the time. And that leads to the third area that it doesn't work. It's an energy sucker. If we're spending all of this time wondering, how do we defend ourselves in this situation? What does that person mean? What should I do in this situation? We're not listening, and we're not able to satisfy that other person because we're not really sure. Yeah, we can hit it on the mark sometimes. Sometimes we guess right, but sometimes we don't. So how does assertive communication come in and help us? Well, we're direct. We let people know exactly what we want. We let the appropriate parties know what we need. Not like the passive aggressive who's letting everybody else know what they need. We're letting that individual know. We clearly communicate our message and we don't feel any guilt around it. In our quest for what is peak performance, we found that peak performers are assertive communicators. That is why we spend a great deal of time discussing this in week 3 of the Human Performance Academy. Why? Because assertive communication meets our needs without having to use extra energy. Assertive communicators do not get riled up before, during, and after a communication. They don't take on more projects than they need to that lead to overload or letting other people down. And they don't spend their time and precious energy reliving events and plotting and complaining to other individuals. What they do is they get their needs met, they use their time effectively, and they engage in productive conversations, and ultimately they become peak performers. Now that you have this information, what do you do about it? How do you change your style of communication? Well, I like to keep things simple. Start by just paying attention to how you're interacting with people. Do people want to avoid you because you're too aggressive and you get riled up and they're feeling uncomfortable? Are you so passive that people don't really know what you want or what you need? Or are you that complainer, that blamer that's always got a drama going on but yet never taking care of it? The second thing you can do is make a goal to enter into each conversation and communicate assertively. Yes, it's going to be a little bit scary at first. You've never done it before, or you don't do it very often. But make the goal and see what happens. And then third, be patient. It'll take some time, it will take some work. And yeah, other folks really won't know what to do with this information because you've never spoken to them that way before. So, Maria, this sounds really great, but I've tried this way of communicating and it doesn't really work. I'm sure you have tried it, but so have I, and I've found that in fact it does work. Now, I'm not saying that it works instantaneously the first time. First, you have to get used to this new way of communicating. Second, the people you're talking to have to get used to this new way that you're communicating with them. Give it some time. No, it's not going to go perfect every time, but after a while you'll see it's going to get better and better. So before I leave, I just want to recap what we talked about. We talked about the 4 styles of communication: aggressive, passive, passive-aggressive, assertive. We've identified that assertive communication is the best way to interact with people. Why? Because it takes less energy, it's direct, and you get your needs met. And finally, we've identified that peak performers are assertive communicators. And if you are on that quest to become a peak performer yourself, assertive communication is the way to go. Till next time, ciao for now.